160th Street and Argonia Road. That's kind of going to be your next kind of point of interest there. That would be that intersection, 160th and Argonia Road. Tornado is probably about back up circulation, probably about a half mile back to the southwest of that. So folks in the area, that kind of gives you your bearing straight. Circulation is going to miss Metcalf off to the east by about a mile or two, pass on 160th Street between Metcalf and Doster. Again, circulation, not a tornado. If anything, we could call it a developing tornado as it moves off to northeast. The next sort of major intersection, Jay, is going to be K44, probably somewhere in the neighborhood of K44 Milan Road, but we still got a little ways to go.
And let's go back over. I'm using the Vance radar, and this is what we call the rho-HV, or the correlation coefficient. Basically, it's a debris detection, and that area of circulation, is sitting right over in here, and we're not really seeing anything that would indicate clearly that something's being lofted. So as Colton's already talked about, it is an area rotation. Could it develop a tornado? Possibly. Do we have a tornado on the ground? We don't have any indications backing that up at this point. So this warning was issued based on radar indications. And at this point, it's just, get down to your shelters and, play it safe as this continues to roll right on through. Let me zoom in a little tighter so Metcalf will appear there for you. And there is Doster. Let me go back to the velocity mode of the radar. And I know I keep clicking on Goodland, but I swapped Goodland out with Vance, so that's why I keep using that. Let's go. There it is. There's that area of circulation very close to Metcalf.
Vance is a little more impressive.
Yeah, and this is a little tighter. You've got the highest, velocities going away and towards the radar. They're a little closer to each other now. And okay, so yeah, so this is more worthy of our attention as far as if you're around Metcalf, just go ahead and continue those tornado precautions.
That's only about 1,700 feet above,
right? As
opposed to when we were looking at Wichita at 3,300.
Yeah, so this is about half the distance lower to the ground, and that's why we always try to use the closest radar. You use a variety of radars because sometimes you want to look at the mid-levels of the storm to see the parent mesocyclone kind of supporting things, and the lower you get, okay, and notice now.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, yep, okay. We're starting to get this kind of close together now. So our confidence is increasing that we may be having a developing tornado in progress right in the vicinity of Metcalf. So if you're around Metcalf, you're around Doster, it's a good idea to continue exercising those tornado precautions at this time, because there's a lot of heavy rain here too, so it's not like you're going to step out and see the circulation. Maybe you get lucky, there's some lightning flashes kind of help illuminate the lowering of the cloud base. You could see it, but a lot of heavy rainfall. So especially if you're north of Metcalf, you're north of Doster, you're looking down to the south to try to see this part of the thunderstorm to see if there's a tornado. You'd have trouble visualizing it anyway, even if it was there. A combination of the night and just the heavy rainfall knocking down the visibility. And looks like you got an update on the road grid of where it would be in the vicinity of.
Yeah, just looking at close, really close, 150th and Argonia Road. If anything, maybe about a half mile to the west of that where we're looking. So right there is what I would call the center of circulation. So Metcalf, the intersection there of Blackstone Road at 150 at the center of circulation, probably about a half mile east of that. So looking upstream, it's moving almost directly northeast. So we can just kind of go up and to the right one mile each there. So that's going to be Eden Road and 140th Street. Again, still not a ton of indications. Jay, correct me if I'm wrong, that this thing is on the ground, but that's kind of where it's going. This will miss Doster to the north by just at least a couple of miles.
Well, let's give this thing a couple of volume scans. It flipped over to the correlation coefficient here, and okay, between Metcalf and Doster, that is not a clear indication of anything, but it's like, okay, let me see if this actually sustains itself for a couple of sweeps of the radar, because we do have a decent area rotation, absolutely no doubt there. And it's already gone. So that was an indicator of anything. Oh, I don't know. Well, north of Metcalf, we'll keep it. This is a real noisy product, so we got to look for some consistency over some sweeps here, and I'm not really seeing it. Plus, that doesn't really line up with the last place we saw that area of circulation, which was kind of more. I don't know. You got the latest couple of. Where have you got in the vicinity of Metcalf now?
Yeah, same thing. I may still be on the scan before. Jay, but there you go. There's
okay, now that's more impressive.
Yeah, certainly becoming a little more impressive. I don't currently have this where I can query it, but I can get there because I'm curious what that's going to read for us. So that may be a little erroneous. Maybe not.
No.
Maybe not. I mean, we're
so.
Still at 1,700 feet, but
That color palette, no, that would only if we had a de-aliasing error. That could maybe, but still, the fact that does kind of, you see when you get the vicinity of Metcalf, that's actually
gate to gate 140.
Okay, but that's correlating more to that little drop in CC now.
Absolutely, it is.
Okay, it's in the same place. So if this persists for another sweep of the radar, this may be our initial indication that we've kicked up something and we actually have a tornado on the ground at this point. We can't confirm it, but we definitely think we're kind of leaning in that direction now. This may be our first indicator that maybe we've come in contact with the surface and we're kicking up a little debris here. Again, we're using the Vance radar because it's only about 1,700 feet above the ground.
That's in the right spot.
Okay, so this does line up with the velocity data. So now that we've got that latest sweep out of Vance, so yeah, if you're around Metcalf, continue those tornado precautions now. We have a possible tornado in progress, and that will continue tracking away from Metcalf. So if you're around Doster, this one is not going to impact you. It's already moving on. Here's the latest sweep of the CC. Okay, it's kind of maintaining a little continuity here as this tracks to the north. So we were going to continue with we're having, unfortunately, increasing confidence of a tornado now in progress here in Sumter County. It's not enough of a Doppler radar indication to say that we're definitely going to confirm it at this time, but this does definitely kind of lean us in that direction. So let's talk about where you are downstream in relation to this. So this is moving due north of Metcalf. This is going to be crossing, K44. And continuing on up to the north over towards Milan and over towards Mayfield. And we can
latest velocity scan is sort of maintained as well. Yeah, there we go. Show that right there.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just off the northeast of Metcalf. So still the sort of outbound winds are still pretty strong. So yeah, I mean, if anything, we'll call it developing. Still pretty messy.
Yeah, and I kind of zoomed in hyper tight to show you where that, that indication of possible debris has been kicked up. There is South Argonia Road and West 140th Street. There is West 150th Street. So if that is an actual debris indication, there you are as far as, there's Metcalf off on the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, and that will continue to track to the north here. So let me continue to back out the view a little bit here, and we'll put this in motion for you over about the past. I'm going to, trim that down. I know we were doing, 30-minute. So I'm going to trim that down to about 15-minute here.
And Jay, the Weather Service is going to take that as radar indicated debris, so they're going to turn this to a confirmed tornado warning now.
Okay.
So yeah, definitely suspect of what we were seeing. So that makes a lot of sense. Just kind of looking upstream where this is going to go. Eventually going to cross K44. Obviously, I'm zoomed in super tight there. Certainly not ready to give a cross street yet. Still thinking somewhere maybe between Milan Road and between Dixon Road. I know that's a 4-mile spread there. I would say that's more than likely once it makes it to K44 where it's going to head. But these things can make left turns, they can make right turns and things like that. So just now kind of trying to give a kind of enhanced point of view of maybe where we need to be concerned more so than others. But if that's going to take maybe a right turn, maybe we're looking more towards Milan Road. So obviously we've still got about 4 or 5 miles to go.
And another thing to keep those, even though we're fairly close to the radars and we're only sensing within a few thousand feet, just because that's where we detect it on the radar, where it's actually, it doesn't necessarily go straight all the way down to the surface at that point. That's another reason we got to give you a little error here. But we're still indicating that's probably some indication of debris being lofted. The Weather Service at Wichita, that's what they're thinking it is too. We've been kind of heading down that path. Okay, here comes the latest sweep here. So we're going to track that to the north, and this can kind of, again, just one thing about this product, it gets awfully noisy. I mean, you can't say this is all debris here. We move that north of, I'm going to scrub through this. So I'm going to, since we're doing a little continuous here, it's time to roll into cart. So let's kind of scrub through some data here. I'm going to stop the motion with that. We're going to go back, kind of connect the dots with that. So there was that earlier indication that we thought was a little debris being lofted north of Metcalf, and if anything, that would still, just based on continuity, potentially be this right up here.
Yeah, it's definitely in the right spot.
Yeah, right there would be, that would be correlate with the velocity and not this. That's just some noise at that point. So let's get in here and show you where that, whoop, wouldn't you know it? As soon as I touched it, it decided to go nuts. So let's go back in here and zoom into that. There we go. We'll get into that real tight. And so that indication now around Argonia Road, 130th Street, over towards Dixon Road, and give or take a little while. So far west is Blackstone, as far east, from Dixon Road, maybe over to South Morris Road. But right in there, we think that that's probably got the continuity where if there's a tornado still in progress, we go over to the velocity. Yeah, that aligns with the velocity really well at this point. So it's going to be in this general area. And like Colton was talking about, we're going to give you a little wiggle room here just in case. But anywhere between Argonia Road and Dixon down to 130th, it'll be in the vicinity. Give yourself about a good, mile or two radius around that, and we'll kind of pull that out and then put that in motion for you over the past 15 minutes. And it's pretty easy to connect the dots with it and see exactly where that's going to be tracking, like he was talking about over, K44, and then heading on over across Sumner County. And as long as this little couplet persists here, we're going to continue to keep it right here on KAKE for the tornado warning. Again, the National Weather Service is, confirming using Doppler radar. Now, the good news is that last suite, watch this, you can kind of track it up, see how it's not as pronounced. So we'll see if that trend continues. But right now, that debris detection signal has weakened quite a little bit. We'll go over the velocity data. It's still spinning. We'll keep an eye on this.
I have a storm track on Max 2 if we want to take that.
Go ahead.
And obviously going to continue to move up. We're really kind of mainly focusing on kind of western back into north central parts of Sumner County here. I would just really end up calling it central Sumner County here. The track's off to the northeast. We're looking at some times of arrival Milan right after midnight here. Wellington City Park, obviously that's a little ways out. So, but Mayfield 1211, several areas out here, just kind of some points of interest for folks that live in the area. This thing is moving at a pretty decent clip. Latest warning says about 30 miles per hour. So obviously nighttime, rain involved. It's not one of those you want to go stand on your front porch and try to see. It'll see you before you see it. But
you know what? I have not heard that expression before, but that is very appropriate tonight.
Yeah, I mean, not a storm chaser's kind of dream tonight. I will say I was going to provide a quick update on the Wichita Metro because I know I'm seeing rain and lightning and folks at home maybe tuned in, worried about the Metro. For now, the storm is off to the south, okay? Eventually, the storm is going to try to track up maybe through the South Metro. I would say areas like Clearwater over to Derby. If this thing stays together, we'll be talking about heavy rain and maybe some hail. As far as currently, though, right now in Wichita, we have no threat of severe weather at this time, okay? If the storm were to lift into the north, we would bring a hail threat in. But for the time being, anything around the Wichita Metro is just good old-fashioned rain and maybe a little bit of lightning. So folks at home worried about that. For the time being, we're in good shape there.
Yeah, and one thing we were talking about is the fact that, this has brought its own atmosphere with it. I mean, the fact, what's the temperature now?
67 here at the TV station.
Oh, it's actually cooled down because it topped out at 71.
Yeah.
So it's finally cooled down a little bit because, this, you see here everything from Augusta to El Dorado over to Eureka. We're working over the atmosphere. And the thunderstorm is coming up from the northeast, so it is getting into a part of the atmosphere that at least has been worked over a bit. The thing is, are we replacing it with enough more unstable atmosphere from the south in order to sustain this? Odds are that's probably going to win. The fact that we've already had convection here and this is getting farther and farther to the north, this should start to weaken. There's no guarantee it will, but at least that's what the odds are telling us at this point. We'll see if there's enough, new atmosphere getting flowing up here from the south to keep fuel this thing. But even over the past few minutes, as far as the hail size, Colton, really haven't seen any indications of large hail for quite a while in this. So I can imagine some of the vil densities and the vils are finally dropping off in this thing.
Yeah, I mean, certainly not lately. The hail indications lately have not been fantastic.
And so I'm going to go back over, and we're getting to the point now. We're almost starting to get to the point where equidistant. It doesn't matter if it's going to be Wichita or Vance. We're getting far enough where it's going to be about the same. But
the Wichita radar looks like maybe a second couplet, maybe trying to develop.
Over here, we'll see if that organizes. And unfortunately, that's sometimes what happens is you will get an occlusion. This one will come out more to the left, and then you go over to the right, and that's where new circulation will take its place.
Kind of what's been happening all night.
Right. But, okay, look, latest sweep. This is dramatically weaker. And we'll see if this organizes. So now we've got basically two circulations in progress, both of them south of K44. This is the one that had what we believe, we have fairly high confidence that was a debris signature in the correlation coefficient. So that is moved to the north. Remember, we were seeing a weakening in that correlation coefficient or that debris signature. And now the big question is, will this become a strong enough circulation to produce a tornado? So we got two ongoing at the same time, which is definitely not uncommon. So I am going to switch back over to And I'm using the Wichita radar, so I know we're still probably shooting a little higher than Vance at this point.
A little, but not much. I just measured it out. Wichita's about 2,300 feet.
Yeah, we're starting to get, like I said, equidistant between the two now. So we're pretty much at a pick'em, which is not a bad thing because it gives us a chance to sample from just two different vantage points here. We go back, Wichita never really hooked on. There you go. See, what was the debris signature? That's pretty much gone. The question is whether or not another one is going to develop there. I'm going to switch over and look at it from Vance. Yeah. Unless you're doing it, unless we're both doing the same thing.
It's all messy. I don't see any indication there that looks.
I'm using the velocity indication. Are you using Wichita or Vance right now?
I'm in Wichita right now, so this is perfect. You can actually see the two box here.
This is great. So yeah, leave this up. Because we're both looking at the same storm. I'm looking at using the radar at Vance, where Colton's on the radar over at Eisenhower. So there are the two circulations right there. So because the radar is to the south, this is the way, that's the toward. So the green's back towards the radar, the yellow's away from the radar.
Wichita scan just got stronger.
Okay, and that's this circulation here. So this is the one that earlier we believe produced a tornado near Metcalf. This is the next circulation that's getting stronger and potentially either is producing a tornado or will produce the next tornado. And we're seeing it, it's a little stronger on Wichita as far as, let's zoom in hyper tight and again, give yourself a little room to play here. But there you go. There's 110th Street, and then that's Ryan Road. So between Ryan Road, Milan Road, and over towards Conway Springs Road, that's the area of circulation. This is the Vance radar, and again, Colton's got it over on Wichita, and we're both seeing the same thing from two different angles, which is an increasing circulation. And based on this, the Weather Service they're going to keep a tornado warning in progress as long as we keep seeing things like this. So here's the other circulation that's weakening, the new one that's taken over at this point. And Colton, looks like you're going to...
Yeah, going to track this out.
We're put a track on
moving at about 30 still. So still somewhat quickly. Again, these things can move left and right a little bit, but some areas to watch. Mayfield still in the kind of the bullseye for this second circulation at this point. 1210. I know it's including some areas in Wellington. I have to tell you, it would have to take a pretty hard right turn to make it to an area in Wellington. Not that it won't, but just know that you're kind of on the edge of the cone here. But obviously, it's a couple other areas through here that maybe are kind of points of interest for you across parts of Sumner County. But okay, just received a reported tornado roughly 5 miles west of Corbin. So that would line up with exactly where we're seeing. So that is
moving to the northeast at 30. Yep. So at least we have confirmation there.
Yep.
And we go back to the correlation coefficient. There's that little debris detection that we had earlier. And as we go forward in time, that is gone. Don't see a new one yet, but we just got that tornado report 5 miles west of Corbin moving northeast.
And that would be this circulation. So
it would be the brand new one.
New scan doesn't look much different.
Okay, so we have tornado in progress now. Even though we don't have the debris detection yet, we got the report.
And that's going to cross K44 about a mile east of Ryan Road.
Yeah, and Vance this is a tighter circulation now.
Yep.
Even on Vance, the latest. Yep, and like you were talking about, K44 in the vicinity of Milan Road, between Milan Road and within South Chikaskey Road. So Chikaskey Road, Milan Road, on K44, this is where the tornado is going to be crossing. So if you're in that vicinity, you need to go ahead and take those tornado precautions at this time. There is, just got the latest sweep of the radar. It's still right there. That is only about 2 miles from crossing K44 at this point. I'm going to go back and just kind of what we call scrub through the data here, and you can clearly see that circulation as it continues weakening here. That is the old one that produced the other tornado. Not much left to it. It's still spinning, but this is the new one. This is the new tornado report. So again, tornado warning continues for Sumner County.
Reflectivity, it's almost taken a supercell shape again. This thing had kind of.
Are you still using Wichita still?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, so then I will stick. I'll stick with Vance at this point.
This thing has almost become a little more supercellular again. So.
Yes, it has, and don't be confused. I know a lot of times your eyes are probably going to that donut hole. That's not the bounded weak echo region. It's down here, the one still to the south of 44. Yep. That's what we're looking at now. This. On the backside, this is the other circulation that produced the tornado that's weakening dramatically with that curvature there. But right in there, matter of fact, we do look at that. We got a drop gate, so we do have a little boundary weak echo region indicated there. Not this one here. I know sometimes your eyes kind of get focused on the donut holes. Nope, that would be the tornado that's about to cross K44 in Sumner County tonight. We got reports verified for the National Weather Service out of Wichita, and that was a spotter report. So we really appreciate you coming in. And don't forget, if you have a chance to send us texts or send us photos, we love the reports. Really helps us out here. And obviously, the Doppler radar is doing a fine job as always tonight, but the eyes on the ground are just absolutely, a big part of the process here. And as Colton was alluding to, I'll put this in motion over the past 15 minutes, just given its direction. Getting into Wellington proper would really be difficult for this circulation. So here it is right here, and we'll go back and you can just kind of extrapolate the line here. And so, I mean, Mayfield, yes, Anson, but places like, Clearwater, Hayesville, and Derby need to keep an eye on this storm. Number one, just because of the heavy rain, and looked like it spiked up with probably some quarters at one point here near Mayfield. It may spike back up again.
It kind of has in the last minute or two. Kind of watching the hail products here, and just as the storm takes on a more supercellular shape, no surprise, hail core kind of returning a little bit. This is the most intense it's looked since it was back in Oklahoma. It's still small, okay? Not everybody in here is seeing tremendous hail, but storm is getting a little meaner as we approach midnight, Jay.
And yeah, and that's okay. Well, I just got the latest volume scan here, so let me flip back over the velocity, and we will query this.
So it's now crossed K44.
Yep, and let me zoom in. There's your circulation. Yep, north of K44, as Colton was alluding to now, between Milan Road and South Chikaskey Road, which is K49 coming down from the south here. So that's now north of 44 and continues tracking off towards the northeast. As far as, again, I'm going to tell you the location best we can of where that circulation's near, but, it's like give yourself a little wiggle room. But there is Springdale Road, 80th Street, and K44. So between 80th Street and K44, the vicinity of Springdale Road is where that circulation is. And so instead of looking at the velocity mode, now we're going to go back over and we're going to check what's called the correlation coefficient. And there is a drop there. This is a really dirty product, but still the fact that the drop lines up where the velocity is, you can kind of infer that that's probably a little debris getting kicked up. We'll see if the gang at the Weather Service in Wichita agrees that that's going to be a velocity signature. Again, this is really noisy. Sometimes it's really clear cut and really drops off. That's kind of, as my daughter would say, it's a little sus. We'll see if that continues to improve at that point.
It's almost midnight.
It is almost midnight. All right. So let's go back over to the reflectivity mode of the radar.
Gate to gate out of Wichita is about 91. We're shooting about 2,200 feet up at this point. So, and the latest scan is a little less impressive. So.
All right. Yeah. And here we go. Here, you can still see it. There's the back towards Vance. There's the away from Vance. So it is still a rotational signature, but as Colton alluded to, it is not as sharp as it was, which is obviously good news. And as we've been talking about, as this continues to come north, the atmosphere is a little less wanting to keep these things as bad as they were down in Oklahoma. So we'll see if that trend continues as it continues to come north and come north. But you were looking at some of the VIL data earlier, and you were saying it was starting to spike back up, right?
It had, kind of as has been the case all evening long, right? They kind of spiked up and spiked back down. It was somewhat strong as it crossed the Oklahoma state line, and then it kind of eventually ramped up again right as it crossed K44. Then look at the last scan. It has come back down in intensity. So we're probably talking hail less than an inch at this point with the way the data is kind of interpreting this, which would make a lot of sense for where we are right now. Not to say that it couldn't ramp up again. The thunderstorm itself looks a little meaner than it did at one point. Kind of has taken a slight left turn, which can usually help with hail. But right now I would say if there's any intense hail, if there's any severe hail, it's probably just a couple miles southwest of Mayfield. A little ways north of the circulation. So.
Okay, and what I've done is I'm going to still use the Vance radar because, we're to the point where with every sweep, it's getting to where Vance is now getting higher than Wichita. So we're kind of starting to get past that transition point where one radar beam is going to be a little higher than the other one. But I'm going to just keep this looping over the past 15 minutes that way you can watch that couplet come to the north. And as it does, it's not as, it's okay, there you go. New sweep just came in. Is it still rotating? Yes. Is it well organized? No. So we're going to continue to watch this. They're going to, as long as it's spinning like that, Weather Service is going to keep that tornado warning in progress, but at least we're trending in the right way. And now I'm going to pop over and we're going to check the correlation coefficient here at the same time.
The Wichita scan, ironically, is a little more impressive in the last couple minutes. So,
okay.
And
that's fine. I mean, we're getting lower here.
Yeah.
And you can kind of maybe, okay, that was the area of that last circulation. Yeah. So maybe, okay, you can kind of play, watch as it come up across K44. That would at least make sense. That's the area it would be in. So that could be, I gotta admit, that's not really the best indication I have seen tonight, but it's still the potential for an indication for still something going on.
Is that from Vance or Wichita?
This is out of Vance.
Let's see what Wichita looks like.
Yeah, I'm using the Vance radar now. Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. Again, that's
a hard maybe.
And this is one of the things about using these products. Trust me, dual polarization has really been great, but it's a lot of fuzzy logic involved as far as, okay, there's a lot of maybe, and you got to make sure that you've got, a certain amount of radar echo covering the area, not to get false positive and things too. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that. Let me go back over. I'm going to look at the just the base reflectivity off Vance. And we're going to roll this one over the past 15 minutes. We cut that time down. Usually have it set for default for about 30, but when we're working this tight, we got to shorten it up so it'll stay on screen. So what's left of that circulation, if it's still there, it's right in here. And I got to admit, you're not really seeing it surrounded by a whole lot of intense reflectivity right around the area of circulation. You got to get away from it, get downstream. That's where you still got that hail potential from, K49 and the intersection of 49 and 160 near Mayfield.
And we're approaching the moment where the Weather Service is going to have to make a decision here. And if they do extend this, inevitably more weather radios will go off. Could we see that extending into far southern, southeastern Sedgwick County, possibly?
Okay, here's the latest sweep out of Vance. Now, you tell me what you're seeing on Wichita, but this is getting much more disorganized now.
Yeah, which is higher up.
Yep.
Scanning of Wichita leaves a lot to be desired also.
Okay, so we think between the two radars, we're either seeing status quo or better instead of worse.
Yeah, right, exactly.
At this point, so okay. I got to admit, this is working out well when you have a storm that's equidistant between two radars. They can both query them at the same time. This is a great way to exchange a lot of information. Hope you're enjoying the coverage tonight here on KAKE for the tornado warning still in progress across Sumner County. Not just warnings, but we've had visual reports through the Weather Service confirming tornadoes. We've also had Doppler radar debris signature confirmations of at least one, and we think probably two tornadoes occurring tonight. One was near Metcalf, and the other one was crossing K44 between Milan Road and over towards Chicaskia Road as that continues tracking on off towards the north. The good news, we seem to overall have a much more disorganized area of circulation. This is using the Vance radar. Colton was seeing the same thing using the Wichita radar, because now we're starting to get closer from the Vance over to the Wichita radar. So you got a couple of storm reports up there.
Yeah, I mean, this thing was a tornado produces machine back into Oklahoma. In fact, several of these managed to touch the ground. That latest report has officially come in now for that storm just a little bit, or for the tornado, I should say, just a little bit off to the west of Corbin. So obviously that spotter report there, we reported that live on the air here about 10, 12 minutes ago. For now, as far as confirmation goes, that's the only thing that we're seeing. I mean, the latest indications, I mean, I know we keep going at scan after scan here, but look at the latest. I mean,
yeah, there's not much going on here.
Very unimpressive.
And that's why the Weather Service was talking about how they're contemplating a new tornado warning. They're doing the same thing. They're looking at these two radars and going, okay, has this degraded enough to where we should stop it? Counter to that is we've had confirmed tornadoes with this storm. Should we keep it going? So that's the decision coin that they're flipping right now over at Eisenhower. Honestly, with the trend, we would not be surprised if they just let this thing go and monitor to see if it tightens back up again. So we might get a cancellation of the warning, and only if this tightens up and spins back up again will we get a new tornado warning. Still the potential for some hail quarter size, you know, K-49 crossing US 160 near Mayfield here. That is going to track over towards Anson. And there's the potential for severe thunderstorm warnings to get into Sedgwick County, especially from Conway Springs over towards Hayesville and Derby because of a hail core threat. As far as the city of Wichita proper, if you're looking down to the south, you're getting a great light show tonight. You know, matter of fact, I think I've got, I'm going to pop up the Garvey camera here so you can take a look at it. There you go. It's coming up. There you go. I'm going to even step out of the way. I'm going to roll the card out of the way, too. You know, when I got the card out, I'm going to be scrubbing through some data. So let me get this out of the way so you can see the light show going on. Only had basically brief heavy rain here in Wichita. Even at the station earlier, had a little brief heavy rain shower come through, and then that moved off pretty darn quickly. So you're looking live from atop the Garvey Center. A lot of lightning with that thunderstorm that's in Sumner County. Currently still under a tornado warning, but the good news is the area of circulation has significantly weakened with that. And Colton, you're looking at the hail core with that storm too.
Yeah, if there's going to be a quarter-size hailstone, it's coming into the south side of Mayfield at this point. But I think it's a stretch to assume that there's many quarters in there. Probably talking more of the lesser pocket change variety, probably nickels, pennies, down to peas. Mayfield over to Roland Station. I would say on its current track, even Wellington, probably not going to have a whole lot of hail roll through the area, so that's good news. We knew tonight had a big-time hail potential. For the remainder of the area, just to kind of give a broader view here, there is heavy rain going on from Butler County, even off to the east, El Dorado, overway to Rosalia, Eureka, up to Hamilton. This is heavy rain and lightning. You're probably hearing this. No weather radios going off for things like that, but this is heavy rain and lightning. We told you today on KAKE News you were going to hear this tonight, and that's what we're talking about. Off to the southwest, this storm structure is not all that different, except it just happens to be at the southwestern tip. That's where the wind shear tends to be the highest, and that's where we do have that couplet. So if that will dissipate, by the way, Jay, a new tornado warning is on the way for northern Sumner County, so they're going to drag this out here to see what this is going to do. I guess the latest scans were confident enough. Okay. Either that or the history was enough.
Yeah, and you can understand that. Sure. So let's go ahead and I'm going to zoom in tighter here, and we're going to take another look at it. So tornado warning is going to be coming out pretty darn soon for this. Oh, let me engage that. There we go. Now I should be able to get this done. Very nice. So we're going to go into the part of the thunderstorm. And I got to admit, even looking at the reflectivity, you can kind of infer hook here, hook there. So let me go, and I tell you what, I'm going to continue to query. You're using Wichita still, right?
I am.
Okay. Yeah. So I tell you what, I'm going to go over and pop over to Vance here. And even though you've got, you know, a more kind of a hook-looking structure, that's a very weak area of circulation. This one is better, but still not super impressive, but it's approaching Mayfield. So if you're in Mayfield, take those tornado precautions if you haven't already. How does it look from the Wichita radar perspective?
It looks a little better than it did in the last few minutes. It is now kind of technically crossing out of that polygon now, so the new polygon should be forthcoming here in just a moment. So looks like we just had a new tornado report. I'm going to guess that's a little old. But with that being said, obviously we don't have the new tornado warning yet. But with that being said, here's the latest track for where it's going to go. And I would reckon a bunch of these areas, there's a new warning. We'll get it in just a second. When we do some of these areas, right there, inside that warning box. So Slate Valley School, sort of the next thing down the line, 12:15, Riverdale, 12:30, Meridian School, 12:33. Eventually, we're going to be talking about I-35. If this thing hangs on, we'll be talking about Interstate 35 there. We still have a ways to go, and we're talking Mulvane. It's close. I mean, closer to 1 o'clock. So if this thing holds together, it's been persistent for a few minutes though.
Yeah, and I saw that report that came out. That earlier was a report near 80th and South Bluff Road. That would have been south of Mile. That would have been from that storm earlier.
From the very first circulation.
The one that we had the debris detection on near Metcalf that we already talked about. But it's nice to get the reports confirming that. But around Mayfield, that's where you need to go ahead and take those precautions at this time. So there's the velocity mode off of Vance, and then we go to the velocity mode off of Wichita, and it's all lined up in the same place here. So around Mayfield, take those precautions. I mean, sure, you can make out a little weak circulation there, but that's not what they're warning on. So let's go ahead and get down and just stay hunkered down at this point. We'll let this thing pass. Go over to since we're closer here, I'm going to use the row HV out of Wichita and put this in motion over the past, 15 minutes. Let's see what we get with that. We'll let it loop. Can't really, you can't really say that's not necessarily junky. This is really junky stuff to look at. But if you're around Mayfield, just go ahead and stay in your shelters, continue to use those tornado precautions. And they just extended the warning within Sumner County at this point. Southern Sedgwick, we're going to keep an eye out this for you, because if it continues moving to the north at some point, they're probably going to consider at least something for over towards, it would be Hayesville, Derby, and then potentially getting into Butler County over in Rose Hill, but that's kind of a little ways out, but just kind of downstream, Clearwater, Hayesville, Derby, Mulvane, Rose Hill, the city of Wellington, those circulations are not going to impact you.
And Jay, we've got sirens sounding in Wichita, Kellogg, and Rock Road, so folks on the east side probably waking up, probably joining us, so maybe kind of try to give them a broader view. Don't think there's any concern for that area at this current moment. Not to say there won't be in a little while. But
yeah, we got that report, but the EM did not tell us they were sounding sirens in Sedgwick County. So yeah. I got a feeling that that's some kind of glitch.
Okay.
Because there would be no reason to set those off at Kellogg and Rock.
I would agree.
We don't have any warning on that, and also I don't believe the siren policy for Sedgwick County is to set them off,
especially for a downstream warning 40 miles out.
Yeah, I don't. I think that there's probably a bug in the system. So I don't know, but I'm glad we got the report. They're going off, because if they are, we'll let you know that if you're in the city of Wichita at this time, there's no severe weather occurring in the city of Wichita. It's occurring to the south, and we're monitoring it very closely to see if this gets into southern parts of Sedgwick County. If it does impact the city of Wichita, it would be the east side and the south side, and also McConnell Air Force Base. The tornado warnings continue for Sumner County, and the Weather Service basically drew it right to the county line. And they did it very intentionally, because we know that we're getting into an atmosphere that's probably a little less likely to sustain it. So as it continues moving north and north, they're kind of saying, all right, as long as we keep the polygon, the box kind of small, we'll give it time to do its thing and see if it's going to finally wind this up and just be a heavy rain and a hail producer, and we can be done with this little tornado nonsense that we got going on. Report of a tornado on the ground near northeast of Southeast 10 Road and Freepoint Road at this time. So that's coming out of Harper County, 911. Northeast, Southeast 10th Road and Freeport Road. Harper County EM getting that. I wonder if that's being relayed. That's got to be relayed by somebody in Sumner County. They said near Freeport. On Freeport Road.
Siren sounding in Derby as well.
Okay.
Which Derby is still a little ways upstream from the circulation, but certainly would not be out of the line of fire if this thing holds together. Derby, we're probably talking closer to 1 o'clock in the morning. Here's some more times arrival. Again, a lot of these kind of exist outside of the polygon, so just because you show up in this box does not mean you're currently in the tornado warning, but it's certainly time to start thinking about this. Persistent tornado. We're getting more reports coming in that this thing may be on the ground at this point. So Peck at 12:39, Mulvane at 12:47, Hayesville at 12:49. It'd probably have to take a pretty good left turn. But regardless, Derby 12:52. I mean, if it stayed on perfect track at this point, we'd be talking about Derby, but that's still at least 30-40 minutes away. So stay with us here.
Yeah, we got the circulation. We'll go back over the velocity. There it is now north of 160. So that area circulation is now north of US 160. So Mayfield, that tornado threat is now past you, and it will continue north of 160. And at this point, yeah, it's going to clear Wellington completely. Wellington, you don't have anything to worry about from this particular threat as that continues tracking off towards the north here. Now, Anson, Riverdale. Probably going to stay west of Belle Plaine at this point, but this will continue to the north. And as far as southern parts of Sedgwick County, yeah, anywhere from Clearwater, Hayesville, Derby, Mulvane, all within the potential for this path. We'll see if it's still making a tornado by the time it gets there. But those will be places downstream that we continue to watch, even so in Anson here. So the tornado warning is confined to Sumter County now, but this is kind of your heads up, southern parts of, Sedgwick, south of Wichita, something to kind of keep an eye on should this be a very persistent area of circulation. Let me go back over to the correlation coefficient. We're close enough here. We're going to be using Wichita here from now on out because we're close enough to the ground. And I don't know, that circulation I saw was right about up in here. So this kind of just striking me as noisy data right now.
Yeah, if anything, it's right there at Anson Road and 160. So wherever that is on your CC, if that matches up, maybe a drop, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the circulation is at Anson and 160. Okay. Or just okay. Now you just got the latest sweep of data.
The latest scan is in.
Okay.
And
so we'll see if this is persistent. If this little area continues jogging to the north along with that, that'll at least give us a little more confidence that maybe that is a debris detection getting kicked up here.
And one thing I was doing just a moment ago, Jay, that we could take a look at is the terminal Doppler weather radar. Had a half decent view a moment ago of the circulation. Obviously kind of shoots a little lower there, maybe a little more broad, but still gives us an idea at least of where this could be. It's kind of all lining up right there around Anson and 40th. I would say anywhere, let's say between Mayfield and 30th, and then up to Clearwater and 50th. Anywhere in that zone is probably where you need to be more so concerned if this thing is on the ground. That's where it's at. So obviously Anson and 40th is right in the middle of that, but I would say as far west as Mayfield and as far east as Clearwater right now, road, that is, should be a little more concerned about where this thing could be. I would believe at this point maybe it's intermittently up and down. So
yeah, and plus we get the circulation here, but we'll see with the next sweep what this CC does if this kind of comes to the north, because if it makes that jog along with the velocity data, we have a little more confidence of what's going on here. But yeah, we still got that. I mean, I see you still got the velocity data up, so it's still very persistent as that continues to move. And I know there's a little chatter going on about the fact that at this time, officially from the Weather Service, no, there's not a warning for Sedgwick County at this point, but still, just based on the persistence of this storm, residents of southern Sedgwick County should be paying attention to this and being prepared to take those tornado precautions, especially, places like Hayesville and Derby at this time to see if this still goes on. But technically, I know there's been reports of some sirens going off. At this point, the Weather Service has not issued a warning for Sedgwick County. We're kind of getting the semantics here, but southern Sedgwick County still needs to be aware of what's going on. Let's go back over to the reflectivity mode of the radar at this point. And right in there. Yep, we still got nice little curvature with that associated with it. So we go back to the velocity data, and we're going to roll that over the past. I'll tell you what, let's use the past 15 minutes here. And let's go forward in time. Not real, I've got to admit, this is at least not, it's not worse, that's for sure.
Certainly.
It is not worse, that's for darn sure.
Definitely much less impressive.
Yeah, so this is, I still feel like we're trending the right way here. Go ahead and, keep a heads up, because that heavy rain and also the hail threat will be coming in here soon enough.
Yeah, I was actually just looking at those hail sizes. The hail core doing what it's done all night. It's ramped up and down.
Up and down, up and down.
Up and down. So I would say currently it's a little more up, a little ways to the northwest of Roland Station. I could buy the argument that there's a quarter-size hailstone in there, kind of lifting, kind of at this point a little further north than it is off to the east. So maybe between Anson and Riverdale would be, if there's a quarter-size hailstone, probably where it's going to fall. This moves off to the northeast. I mean, eventually the hail core will probably outlast the tornado. So once the tornado threat dissipates, even areas on down the line from Mulvane up into Derby, Rose Hill, eventually into like Augusta could potentially be in for a hail threat. So that could be for a loud night, maybe a little bit of damage. I don't think there's a ton of damaging hail out there. But with that being said, that will more than likely outlast the tornado threat. But with that being said, unless this thing takes a hard left turn, we're not talking about downtown Wichita by any means. So.
Okay, hang on one second, Cole. Keep on going over there, because I'm in the process. I just got sent a photograph that I'm going to get over to you that we can get on air of the tornado.
Yep. Nope.
So hang on just 1 second while I get everything over.
So just to kind of take a broader view for folks who maybe are waking up, I know we've had some sirens going off in and around Wichita. The Weather Service really wants us to reiterate there is no tornado threat for Wichita or for Sedgwick County at this time. Okay, there's no tornado threat. Obviously continue to monitor, but at this point this thing is moving east faster than it's moving to the north. So Sedgwick County, Wichita, those sirens going off, things like that, not of concern at this time. When you need to be concerned is obviously when we start calling that out. That's not happened yet. Weather radio is going off, things like that. So
okay, I just sent that over to you. This was from 11:44 at the tornado, a mile north of Metcalf. So go ahead and bring it back to me. That way, Colton can get that together. So just take me full, and so we'll get that on air. But that was the one where we had the debris detection near Metcalf, confirming the tornado on the ground. So we got a picture of that coming for you. That was sent in by Hugh Davidson. Appreciate you sharing that for us. So you still have, the area of, if you look at the reflectivity, you go old school, you see the hook. It's right there south of Anson, even though the velocity signature was not quite as pronounced as it was earlier. And that storm has consistently tracked to kind of the north-northeast. And so downstream of that, Clearwater, Hayesville, Derby, Peck, Mulvane, yes, you need to be prepared as this storm rolls towards you. Number one, you'll get into the rain and then the hail. And if you're trying to find it, you will not see it. There's no visibility through the hail core and through the heavy rain. And so if this continues, the Weather Service is going to have to pull the trigger here within probably 15 to 20 minutes on whether or not they're going to push a tornado warning into Sedgwick County. At this point, Sedgwick County is not included. I know we've had some reports of sirens going off, and don't know if those were sounded intentionally or if there's just a glitch in the system at this point, but we're still continuing to watch that. So let me kind of reset the scene here and talk about this. Let me go over to the velocity data, and we'll get an update on that. So let's go to Wichita. We'll go over to the base velocity. And then we're going to zoom in here and roll it for you over the past 30 minutes. And there's that area circulation coming up from the south. And there it is near Mayfield. This is all kind of junky now. This is not a clear indication of circulation. We're not saying it can't tighten back up here. But as I'm talking to you now, this is an improvement in what we have been seeing. So I'm kind of happy to see this. And so the Weather Service is kind of, going to be weighing that and taking that into consideration. But we're going to go back. There's that circulation coming near Mayfield, comes to the north, and now it is highly disorganized. I'm going to go over to, we conveniently call this debris detection, but it's a correlation coefficient. Basically, we're looking for, this has gotten so junky now. When it was near Mayfield, there it is right there. You go up to the north. I don't know. It's too noisy to get any kind of read on it at this point, Colton. So we continue to back that back out and just go to the raw velocity product.
And while you're doing that,
go ahead.
Here's that photo, by the way.
Okay, great. Go ahead.
From earlier, very clearly, what an excellent photo, right? You can clearly make out almost the elephant trunk. The condensation cloud probably makes it all the way to the ground there. This is old. This is not right this minute. This was taken 11:44, but confirmation of that tornado north of Metcalf. Thanks, Hugh. We appreciate you sending that in. This is the same cell, right? This is all the same system. No reason to believe that exact tornado was still back on the ground, but same circulation continues to give us problems. It certainly, I'll tell you this, does not look remotely as impressive on radar as it did this moment. This moment is probably where it looked most impressive on radar, so not surprised that it was visually able to be seen there. But I tell you what, JM, still circulation. I mean,
it's still there, but it's a lot weaker. And you know what I'm noticing now, because on my Facebook post for the tornado warning for Sumter County, I'm getting a lot of people saying, I'm hearing sirens in East Wichita. What's going on? I don't know why they sounded. Okay, do you know why?
Here's what happened. The explanation has been given. I'm going to zoom in really tight.
Okay.
If you notice here, the warning line, that's the Sedgwick County line. The warning.
Oh, the polygon got
it by about a mile. And so evidently they're on a trigger, if you will. Sedgwick County went under warning technically, even though it really didn't. And that's what triggered.
That makes a lot of sense now. But but what I find very interesting is I thought that Sedgwick County transitioned to a polygon-dependent siren system where only the sirens within the poly would sound, and we're getting reports of Kellogg and Rock going off, Woodlawn and 63rd going off, which is nowhere near that polygon. So even though I'm glad you pointed that out, that apparently when they drug the box, they missed it by a mile and got into Sedgwick County. But if you look at all the text products, there is no warning for Sedgwick County as far as the Weather Service is concerned, even though they accidentally drug the polygon. But I really thought we went to a system within Sedgwick County that only warned within the poly.
Well, and we know there were issues with drawing the warnings earlier today, so who knows?
Who knows if maybe the guy coded wrong in the lat long in the product. This sounds like a story we'll put Kate Devine on. Okay.
Yeah, figure that one out tomorrow, right?
So we continue to look at the velocity mode here, and at least the good news is we do not have a highly organized area of circulation as we're talking. And I got to admit, I really appreciate everybody saying, okay, sirens going off in Derby and Mulvane again. That's great. And they're posting this on my Facebook.
Yep.
You know what? All you got to do is turn on KAKE and you'll find out instantly. That's the beauty of this thing called TV. So hopefully you're joining us now. And look, the latest sweep came in. There's nothing here. Okay? We're not seeing a circulation that is concerning me at this moment. As far as VIL density, are we still, I mean, obviously we may still spike up with some hail and all that, and we could still potentially reorganize. But as I sit here and talk to you, I do not see anything that looks threatening in terms of a circulation. I'm not saying one could not redevelop again, but at least this is feeling a lot better. I mean, we'll keep an eye down here around Anson. Obviously, anywhere you got the southwest corner of a storm like this, you're going to keep an eye on it. And we got the heavy rain coming into Mulvane and obviously some hail. But yeah, all the sirens are apparently going off around a good chunk of parts of Sedgwick County. But no, Sedgwick County is, as far as the Weather Service is concerned, there's no tornado warning at this point.
Okay, so with that circulation, with that being said, we'll kind of talk more about the hail product. Look what's happened. All right, so
spike back up,
as has been the case all evening long, kind of up and down, up and down. I'm going to pause this. Here would be the latest kind of indication of what's going on. The radar indicating. At this point, you could probably make a pretty decent argument that there's at least some quarters in here, maybe up to some golf balls in this most intense core, kind of passing between Anson and between Riverdale. Again, notice the hail core is really not all that big, right? We're talking a couple miles.
I'm really zoomed into it over here. So yeah, I'll show you where it is. You look at the reflectivity. So there is Ridge Road, there's Hoover Road, and 110th. Remember, this is down in Sumter County. This isn't Sedgwick County, but what Colton is showing you for the hail core, this is how it's presenting itself in the reflectivity mode. So this is where the large hail is going to be falling. Let me get the roads turned back on. There you go. So there's Ridge, there's Hoover, East 110th Avenue, there's East 100th Avenue down on the southern part of the screen, and there's 120th. So that's where the hail core is at the current time, and you've got the track for it, Colton.
Yeah, I mean, as far as where that's headed, off to the north and to the east, obviously. So there's some of those times arrival, Mulvane, 1250, Derby, about 1255. This is, at the moment, nothing that we would call a devastating hailstorm by any means. Obviously, could still cause some property damage and things like that, but Supercell is losing its juice, so that's good news. I still think it could produce a severe hailstone here or there, certainly up to quarter, if not a little higher than that. Eventually up into the Riverdale area by 1 o'clock, Rose Hill, up into 105. And yeah, I mean, we're certainly starting to call out some areas that are closely associated with Wichita, right? Cessna Aircraft Field there, 106, kind of still, that would kind of take a left turn. It would need to take a left turn to do that. I think this thing's eventually going to get out into Butler County before it spends a whole lot of time in Sedgwick County, but nonetheless still watching for it to eventually cross the county line before we know it.
And from the Sedgwick County Emergency Management, Cody Sharvett says, quote, obviously any sirens going off is a malfunction, unquote. That's from your Sedgwick County Emergency Management. Thank you, Cody, for getting in and letting us know about that. So that is the word from the people that own and run the sirens, just to let you know. Here is the only thing resembling a weak area of rotation currently in Sumner County. It is just to the east of Anson Road. And the reason I'm going to show it to you is it is extremely weak, because if I back out the view and I switch over to the reflectivity mode of the radar, you kind of associate it with what some people would interpret as a hook. The key word is interpret. That is a very weak area of circulation that we're watching. What Colton has been focusing on and was showing you very nicely is the hail core that's over near Ziba. So this is the big threat right now, is the hail. We will continue to watch to see if we get new circulations to develop. But right now there are no circulations. Yes, we have a tornado warning in effect until 1 a.m. I know that's 34 minutes away from where we are, but if we don't produce any new circulations or anything tightens up for probably about the next 15 minutes or so, they'll cancel that early. They're not going to let that roll to 1. They'll probably let it spin down to a severe thunderstorm warning at that point. But we're in a really good place right now. We're not seeing strong circulation. Sure, we're dealing with a couple of hail cores, but in terms of anything imminent, because earlier when we would see a tornado dissipate, it wasn't that long until we saw the next circulation really spin up and take its place. Haven't seen that in a little while now. So the trend is working in our favor. Let me go back over to the velocity mode of the radar. Colton, jump in at any time, bud, but I'm not seeing anything here that's concerning me.
I was looking at the terminal Doppler weather radar. Kind of provides us another vantage here. Circulation certainly not impressive. Okay, we're talking about at this point we're scanning 400 or 500 feet, so we're at the ground at this point where we would need to be concerned. And I mean, I'm not going to tell you there's nothing there, but that's nothing that really catches our attention by any means. I mean, it looks about the same out of Wichita at this point. So
there you go, and I'm getting hit up. Tornado sirens now being heard in the southern part of Andover.
Yeah.
Okay. The tornado warning is in effect for Sumner County till 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the only place right now. Do we think we have an active tornado in progress? No, we do not. Did we earlier? Yes, we showed you the photographs. Thanks again for sharing those. And what is it? Okay, you saw the really good, nice elephant trunk. That was a great photograph. It was lit by the lightning. But in the scheme of things, that is a very low wind storm. And you saw the fact that it was close enough to the radars where we had that debris detection kick up and the correlation coefficient. So it shows the really benefit of the Doppler radars. I see you got the picture back up there. Again, thanks a lot, Hugh.
Yeah, what a fantastic photo, right? I mean, that just screams Kansas, you know, kind of dark but well lit behind. Elephant trunk tornado really low to the ground. I mean, it's March. It's time for these, you know. By the way, severe thunderstorm warning coming for Sedgwick County momentarily. That's coming in for large hail, at least for damaging hail. Remember, we've been showing you the warning box is going to be really big. A lot of you are going to be in the warning box. The hail core is going to be about that big compared to the size of the warning box, okay? Not to say you're not going to see property damage out of hail, but I don't think it'll be very many of us. That's good news. So, you know, obviously if...
Yeah, and the key phrase is what's being issued?
Severe thunderstorm warning.
Severe thunderstorm warning, not a tornado warning. If they were concerned about any of this, it would have been a tornado warning. Period, end of story. So we're still playing we're watching mode. We're not hyper concerned at this point as far as a tornado threat. Is there one still possible? Yes. We'll see if that develops. But it's more the hail core from Ziba to Peck. That's going to cross in. That's why they issued, well, it's coming out here. Pretty soon you're going to see that blink. But remember, the sirens do not sound in Sedgwick County for severe thunderstorm warning. So if they're going off now, okay, I don't know about you. Have you seen the lightning show that we've got going on outside?
It looks fantastic.
I'm going to punch it up. I'm going to punch the camera up for you, and then I'm going to back out of the key here. That way you can see this. We have got an incredible display being put on by nature tonight from the severe thunderstorm that is rolling out of Sumner County into Sedgwick County. Yep, just an impressive display. Very impressive display with that. And there's your severe thunderstorm warning, as we told you. Oh, what have you got, Cold?
New photo, Braden Pierce. Appreciate you sending this in. This was roughly 30 minutes ago, okay? This was in Argonia looking east towards Mayfield. That lines up. Same thing, elephant trunk out the bottom. Whether or not that's reaching the ground doesn't really matter. That's certainly close enough to warrant getting inside, okay? So obviously, not to take away from the gorgeous lightning show, but more confirmation that this thing at the very least has been up and down all evening. I think the latest trends continue to support that it's not going to come back down at least too many more times, so that's good news.
That is true, and there is a severe thunderstorm warning for a good chunk of Wichita. And Colt, you know why I know that? Because my KAKE First Alert weather app told me that I'm under a severe thunderstorm warning here in the studio. So yes, it does include the KAKE studios. See the polygon? Now this is the beauty. The app follows you. So there's the yellow line, and then there's KAKE-TV. So because we're sitting here, that's why we got the alert on it. If you've not downloaded this, remember, number one, it is free. And number two, we have really recently put a lot of very short 1 minute or less videos in there daily about what's going on with the forecast and the severe weather threat. So if you don't have the app, it's great because it'll give you alerts too. It'll let you know severe thunderstorm and tornado warnings.
As this kind of lifts up into the metro, kind of take another broad view here. Remember, I told you the warning was going to be really big. The hail core is a lot smaller than the warning is itself. So, and not that the radar algorithm is perfect, by the way. You certainly can get hail outside of these colors, but this product actually does a really good job of telling us where the hail is. Let me move that just a tad so you can get a little better view there. As this is kind of the center of the hail core at this point, out to the west of Interstate 35, right out by Belle Plaine. This thing's going to lift up into Sedgwick County in the next 10-15 minutes, probably closer to 10 minutes. If the hail core stays on its current path, it's going to kind of follow the kind of center line of that warning there. At the current path, at the current trajectory, it's going to pass off to the east of downtown Wichita. Okay, so not to say it couldn't grow, certainly could become more intense, but that's the great news is that currently we're not talking about 2 to 2.5 inch hail. We're talking about quarters, maybe $half at most. So that's great news. And Jay, even better news to pass along. Tornado warning has been canceled.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that was until 1 o'clock, and we knew that if that circulation didn't kick up, there was no way they were going to leave everybody on the hook till 1 in the morning. So thanks a lot, Wichita, for doing that. And we're just enjoying the show. I almost want to pop some popcorn because this is an incredible display of lightning we have going on tonight. Unfortunately, it also comes with some hail. Heavy rain over not only Butler County, but through Greenwood County. You know what? This is one of those days, if I'm not talking about you, it's a good thing. Because the only place we're talking about is where we've had 2 tornadoes in Sumner County earlier tonight. Now, again, what we had so far, we got the pictures. We haven't had any reports of damage, so we don't know if we've damaged anything. But what we've experienced in Cake Land tonight pales in comparison to what they had down in Oklahoma. Oklahoma, much more powerful tornadoes. Do we know about confirmed damage? No, but just based on the velocity signatures alone and what we were seeing with some of the news channels down there, definitely a lot more going on. Now, they canceled the tornado warning. And I know you're not under any warning in Sumner County, but you're still got a severe thunderstorm going on. I know you don't have a polygon right now, but let's give the Weather Service a little grace. It's still a severe thunderstorm warning, and the one that's been issued for Sedgwick County, including Wichita, that is going until 1:30 in the morning. So let's zoom in and show you the hail core. You know, this is one thing Colton, using the VIL, really doing a good job. Just showing how this thing is pulsed up and down, pulsed up and down. Right now it is crossing into Sedgwick County along US 81. It'll be crossing the turnpike and eventually sliding over towards Hayesville. Now, Mulvane, you're going to miss out on the hail on this one. Sure, you got some heavy rain, maybe smaller hail, but this one's going to be 81 and the turnpike. But Hayesville, you're more in the path to see this hail threat. And I know if you're looking at that, you see that little, I'm not going to call it a hook, but you see that little curl there? Let's go and just check it with the velocity, because that's what we're doing here. Anytime we got the southwest flank of the storm, we're just going to be keeping our eyes out, and we don't see any area of organized rotation here. So we're still in really good shape in terms of we don't see anything that's concerning us in terms of a tornado threat.
By the way,
hail. Yeah, go ahead.
Hail core is going to pass right over the Kansas Star Casino. So anybody who may be out there and indoors, not a covered parking lot.
That's true. It's not. I don't know how you're going to protect your car.
So that is that's the parking lot right there for the Kansas Star Casino. Now I'm going to back out just a little ways, kind of keep your eye on that spot there. Right here it is. Here's the hail core. Now we're not talking baseballs by any means. This is quarters, maybe $half, but that's going to cross right over the Kansas Star Casino. I call that out more so because I know many folks know exactly where that's at. You drive in Interstate 35 from Oklahoma, that's the Kansas Star Casino right there. So that's where the hail core is. That's where it's going to cross I-35, and at that point it's going to end up passing off eventually north of Mulvane across K-15 at some point. So.
All right, thanks for grabbing that about the casino. Absolutely, that exit right off the turnpike there. And there you go. There's Hayesville, Derby. There's your hail core that's right along 81. Like you said, that's going to come right over the casino with probably some quarters. If you happen to have us on a television at the Kansas Star and it starts hailing, we would love it if you sent us a photograph confirming what the hail size is at your location. Not only would we like to share it, but we could put that out there with the Weather Service too and help them with a warning process. So yeah, if you're at the Kansas Star Casino, go ahead when the hail starts. If you don't mind, just take a camera, stick it out the door, take a couple of photographs. We'd love to know what the hail size is going on there. Here we're tracking it now over the past 30 minutes, and this is just rolling up to the north. I'm going to expand the view a little bit. So there's Hayesville. It's going to probably roll over Hayesville, come basically right up 81 to the turnpike, but eventually it's going to cross the turnpike and then get into southern Wichita, McConnell Air Force Base, from downtown over towards the east side. So places like, Town East Mall, eventually getting over to maybe WSU and Jabera at this point. As far as Andover, the core may stay to the west of you. Looking off to the east, looks like between Rose Hill and Douglas, we may be trying to develop a different little hail core here. That one is basically going to roll due north, and that would be more of a potential target for Augusta as that continues on towards 77. So Augusta, you're not under severe thunderstorm warning now, but if that hail core should get a little bigger, one may be necessary. I'm just glad we're dealing with severe thunderstorm warnings now, Colton, because we were just kind of dogged by those circulations. Down in Oklahoma, really thought we were going to have some problems. Luckily, as things came north, it was not as bad. We were still waiting to see what the tornadoes that occurred, what they've done, if any, in the way of damage. We really appreciate you sharing the photos. But so far, we don't have the damage report yet. We're back to the velocity mode. We're looking for anything, trouble in terms of circulation. Still not seeing anything at this point. And I see you got tornado reports up there. What you got, Nicole?
Yeah, I certainly do. And take a look at this. Look at all the reports that have come in. This is now across mainly parts of Sumner County. I'm back out here. Obviously, there's, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different tornado reports. Obviously, eventually what will happen, the Weather Service will go out, they'll assess these, they'll figure out, okay, maybe this was one tornado, then it lifted, and maybe it was another. Maybe this really was 6 different touchdowns here. So not to say we had 6 tornadoes tonight. It all eventually came from the same parent circulation. And you look back into Oklahoma, you kind of follow the leader, right? Look back here into southwestern Oklahoma. No surprise, or I say northwestern Oklahoma, no surprise that those same cells eventually ended up producing at least a tornado, if not a few tornadoes, across parts of south central Kansas. The next thing I was looking at was the hail core. Here's the deal. It's gone up and it's gone down. Okay, so it's currently going down. That's not to say that it's not going to ramp back up. Look over the last 30 minutes. It is weekend, right over the casino. Okay, so if somebody's aunt, uncle, or grandma was at the casino, the good news is the hail core ramped down just in time. The way it's done is it may kind of pick back up as it goes off to the north and to the east, closer to Derby. Not saying it will, but that's been the trend, right. Up and down, up and down. So. Okay,
hey, big hats off to Cody Sharvett over at Sedgwick County EM. I got to share what we talked about. So
the mystery's been solved.
He has solved the mystery. This is great. We talked about, and this is what Colton pointed out, is when they drew the polygon, it crossed 1 mile into Sedgwick County. The warning was issued for Sumner County, but when they dragged and dropped the polygon, it did include 1 mile north of the county line, so it grabbed part of Sedgwick County. Well, that grabbed the siren located at the Kansas Star Casino within that 1 mile zone. Because it grabbed that one, every siren within its zone tripped.
Which includes Kellogg and Rock.
Exactly, which include Derby, Mulvane, and East Wichita. So at least now Cody, again, gold star tonight for you for not only figuring this out, but putting us out there so we could share with everybody. So they are going to look at the programming to see if they can separate out some of the sirens in order to keep that from happening again. So again, Cody, thank you so much. The Sedgwick County Emergency Management Agency not only looking into it, but solving the mystery tonight. That's absolutely fantastic. And there's the heavy rain. Another little cell's popped up here just to the west of Mays. It's going to cross K96. But if there's going to be hail, like you said, it's rolling in basically the Kansas Coliseum. Or not the Kansas Coliseum. That doesn't exist anymore. The Kansas Star Casino. That's where they used to play hockey back north.
Don't show
of
your
town
age.
Before they built
Don't show your
Arena.
age.
Stop it. Okay. And then we get over towards Douglas here. Now this earlier is rolling up, 77 over towards Augusta, just heavy rain, some smaller hail. The good news, Colton, is like you were talking about in the Ville, it's trended down,
yeah.
And now the fingers are crossed to see does it repeat itself and pulse back up.
Absolutely. I mean, at the moment, it's at one of the lower points we have seen, right over the casino. Maybe about a mile. Nope, right over the casino. Here it is. At about the lowest point we've seen in a while. I mean, if I were to query this, it would tell us not impressive. Okay, less than an inch. So we're talking marble size, maybe at best at this point, based on the radar. Again, as Jay mentioned, if you happen to be there, happen to have us up on one of the TVs, let us know. We got a phone number. You can text us. I got it open right here. Shoot me a text. I'll see it right now, what those hail sizes are. 757-525-3697. You don't have to, leave the slot machine to go take a photo. Just let me know what you're seeing outside. Well, let me know, because we'd love to know exactly what's happening there, because, again, as it's ramped up and down, we think a lot of the time it's sub-severe. So obviously that would be ideal.
All right. Velocity. Nothing here of note. Colton, I don't know about you, but I'm getting to the point where I think we've been on here long enough. We've seen things settle down that we can kind of go back to doing some commercial break coverage instead of the continuous at this point, and unless you think there's a reason we shouldn't.
I mean, we may as well just stay until tomorrow evening at this point.
Well, yes. Let's see if the front if cells uncap in front of the front, we're going to have a much worse day tomorrow than what we had tonight.
I think Frank's cooking his breakfast back in the back. So.
Oh, is he? Is Frank here yet? Okay. It'll be great to see Frank. But I think at this point we can step down the continuous coverage. We're going to go back into frequent updates, because I don't see anything life-threatening at this point. Sure, there's going to be some hail. Those are precautions you can take care of. We got the app going on here. So, Colton, what do you think?
I got to report P to small marbles at the Kansas Star Casino. So the radar was dead on.
And you know what? And if that isn't a reason to stop this continuous coverage, I don't know what is. For Colton Williams, I'm meteorologist Jay Prater. Thank you for joining us on KAKE. We will keep you updated periodically through the rest of the night.